Relax. Relax, guys. We're late, but we're in color. We have audio. That's always important. I've got my customer service look going on right now. Um, so bear with us. Bear with us.
I also have my robe.
We got to come with the robes, you know.
Oh, of course. Kenji, Brew.
Okay, nice. Okay. We've got people here. They've been waiting for me. Yes, Brock, I'm running late. Yes, I know. Awesome Sauce does not know where we are. No one ever knows where I am. Shouldn't be this hot in Canada. Hey, Kenji, what's going on?
It's hot here too. Very hot.
Hi, Dave. Dave is here. We love Dave.
Oh, hey Dave. That's Dave Nader right there.
Dave, what's going on? So happy to see you again. Leah, can we start off by just saying you are so beautiful?
You are too crazy. No, don't go make this laugh.
I love your robe so much.
Why, thank you. We're here
It's
in the tiny barn again.
I love the floral. I love the pink. I love the black. I love the polka dot like sash. Like
Yeah.
it's giving everything that it needs to be given.
Well, thank you.
Enable the bond.
And then
Yes, we're going to enable the live chat. We're going to
it's
pin the
amazing.
Discord. It's
Kind of,
giving kimono.
yeah, a little kimono.
Let's get my notes up. Let's get the notes up. We have notes, y'all.
We are prepared. Ooh, here we go.
Um, it's going down to 0 degrees Celsius in 2 days at night. I love the cold. Ugh, I don't know about all
Ugh.
that.
I prefer the cold over the searing hot.
Yeah, I don't
I know
hate the
that much.
cold, but I don't love the cold.
Yes. I don't like the extremes. Really, really hot, really, really cold. Both are kind
Yeah.
of Texas. Exciting.
I feel like Kenji, you are a mystery to me. I feel like I never know where you are in the world. You're always all over the place. You're always over here, over there, everywhere. Where in the world is Carmen San Diego? That's you.
Where's Waldo? But where's Kenji?
Kenji, I don't, yeah, where is Kenji? I don't know. Okay, so I guess let's get started. We're already 10 minutes late. We are warming up. We've got two beautiful people. Who is this cute young lady? Her name is Leah Bobia, Lauro. Speaking of, let me introduce our special guest of the night. This is one of my good Judies. This is my sister, Leah Bobia. She has her own YouTube channel.
Hello.
She's an inspiration. She is a moderator here. She's the queen of the mods here in our community that we have built together. And she's been telling me, like, this is so crazy, Leah, because you've been telling me to start doing these duo lives forever.
I have told you
And
that.
we had so much fun last time. We just had the funnest time ever.
Mhm.
And so
We
I
did it
really
good.
do want to turn this into a regular series of sorts. Um, so yeah, we're having her back. Leah and I've had a couple conversations about abortion. We talk politics, we talk about everything, in this
We
community.
do.
And it's one of those issues that her and I have some slight disagreements about. We I think we align probably 95% of the way. Um, and so I thought that it would be great to have her on to kind of educate me more on her position with abortion and to maybe enlighten me on more of her side. And I think this is really important for me in particular because abortion is not one of those issues I have really thought about a lot. And I'm going to tell you guys why. I think the reason why I have not thought about abortion is because I feel incorrectly that abortion doesn't affect me. And being a man, being a man that likes to suck dick, abortion is not something that comes up very naturally in my life, right? So it's never been one of those things that I've like wanted to like do some research on or really have a firm opinion on either. Also, abortion, I hate to say this, but it's a choice. It's a choice to be put in this predicament. Most of the time, it's a choice. And so, for all those reasons, it's just not one of those issues I've put too much attention into. And I think I maybe should put a little bit more attention into, which is one of the reasons why I'm having Leo here, because I can tell through our own personal private conversations and public conversations that she's really passionate about it. And so I really want to get someone here that's passionate to talk to me about it. Um, is that a good intro, Leah? Is that a good intro? How do you
Yeah,
how do you
that was
feel?
pretty
Okay.
good.
Is that
That was really
accurate?
good.
Okay.
Yes, I for those who don't know me, I was a staunch liberal for many, many years of my life, really until I had kids. So if you would have told me a decade ago, I mean, I would take the title of activist, a pro-life
Okay.
activist. I would not have believed you. I'd be like, you're
Hmm.
fucking crazy. I'm pro-choice, and that's the end of it. And thank you. Everybody loves my bun. And I think, like I told you, Charlie Kirk is actually the person who pushed me from that kind of middle ground of pro life. Like, I'm
Hmm.
ethically and morally opposed, but, like, how dare I legislate other people's body type, like,
Hmm.
soft pro life, some may call it, to, like,
Yeah.
full blown pro life. And it was him who really kind of pushed me there, showing me a different perspective. So, I'd like to pass that on if I can. I feel it's really
Yeah.
important, and you know, a
So
lot of
that's
people
pretty.
don't think about it.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. So I'm what you would categorize as soft pro life. I'm a softy pro lifer. Okay.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like I'm almost there, but not all the way there, right?
We gonna get you
And
there.
I think that's probably I think being all the way there important part because we can be against things morally, but if they're legal, then it's like, okay,
Right,
you know.
right,
So what if
right.
people are against it morally? So the way this is gonna go, guys, is we're going to basically have our conversation as though you guys are not here. Um, and then we're going to kind of like get into reading comments, if that makes sense, if that's fair. If you have a burning question or you have a burning comment that wants to be read immediately, then a dollar will make us holla. Okay, so super chats
Yeah,
are welcomed, they are encouraged, especially if you are selfish and you need some attention immediately. We give attention to those that open up their wallets. Okay,
yeah.
outside of that, we are going to just have our conversation and kind of get through what we want to get through and then open it up to questions and comments and back and forth because we love reading comments too. We do love to read comments. Does that make
We
sense,
do love
everybody in the
that.
chat? Put a number one in the chat if that makes sense and if you're excited. Put a number one in the chat. Hey, Madison Rose. Hey, Thug. Hey, Little Bird. Hey, Stanley. Hey, Paul Conte. Brainless Meat Puppet. I love these names. Aaron Stotzenberg.
They getting crazy tonight.
Silent Sniper. Silent Sniper says, Somebody send this zesty man a dollar to holla." Listen to Silent Sniper, y'all. Listen to Silent Sniper.
Do it, DJ.
Thank you, DJ. I appreciate it. Okay, so I'm looking at my notes, and one part of the dialogue that I have always struggled with, and I have not really come to a firm decision on my own, is this whole when does life begin? Because I think in Ohio, we just got done voting to enshrine abortion rights, but I think you can only get them I think at like 6 to 10 weeks, I think is the window.
heartbeat bills is what usually what they call them until the baby would have a heartbeat. Somewhere between
Okay.
6 and 10
Um,
weeks is usually the
but it kind of opens up the discussion of, well, where exactly does life begin, and why are there arbitrary markers of when you are allowed to have one and when are you not allowed? The difference between the third trimester and a couple days of being pregnant, that's a pretty big difference. But
Oh yes, it
where
is.
do you draw the line, and how do you draw the line? So I think a lot of people like to ask that question: when does life begin? Do you want to shed some
Good
light on your
question.
opinion on that?
Well, I would love to. I think a lot of people who have faith, a lot of religious people, like to
Yeah.
come at this from like an argument, like I was telling you last night, an argument from authority of faith. Like God says in the Bible, the moment of conception, I made you before you were in your mother's womb. Therefore, oh, that's it, and that's the end of it. Except for many,
Right.
many reasons, that doesn't work. Like if somebody doesn't have any faith, you're talking to a brick wall. And even if they do, if that's the only defense you have for your argument, even as a Christian, I say this, it's not a very strong argument, right? And so
Right.
I've done a lot of research on my own to figure out, especially for, the usual side that loves the science and wants us to trust the science. Well, what do
Mm-hmm.
the experts say? And I can leave you some of these sources. I have a few little quotes picked out for this. There's a guy, well, there was two professors and embryologists that co-authored the leading textbook right now in the United States on
Mm-hmm.
embryology, and
Yeah.
their names are Keith L. Moore and Dr. T.V.N. Prasad. And they had kind of 2 or 3 years ago, before this new version was published, finally said a definite answer to that question, which for them, and these are both liberal people, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
they say human development begins at fertilization when a sperm fuses with an ovocyte to form a single cell organism, the zygote. This highly specialized totipotent cell, capable of giving rise to any cell type, marks the beginning of each of us as a unique individual. And furthermore, this is not a controversial statement based on ideology. This is important to me. It's merely good science to state that at fertilization, a distinct, living, whole human being is created. The zygote is distinct because it is not part of mother or father. Both sperm and egg donated their genetic material to give rise to something genetically unique and one of a kind. The fact that the preborn are living is evidenced by their own growth, cellular reproduction, metabolism, and reaction to stimuli separate from the parent. Further, because living things reproduce after their own kind, the preborn are therefore human, therefore fully people.
Mm-hmm.
That to me, and there's also other embryologists and biologists and
Yeah.
all types of people that kind of agree on this now. A lot of people don't believe pro-choice people rather, that makes a big difference. They're like, oh well, a couple of scientists, like the U.S.'s leading scientists, but whatever, have this
But that
opinion, and
but
so that
that
doesn't.
that is a big deal, because I remember, I'm 35 now, so I'm of a particular age. I'm not old, I'm not young though. And I remember growing up and the science never mentioning stuff like that before.
Yeah,
And
it
so
was never definitive.
yeah, it feels like that is more of a definitive take and a more convincing take.
Right.
That life begins a lot earlier than what we have all been led to believe.
Right.
Um,
I
and
completely agree, and I like that it gives specific reasons too, not because we
right,
think, but because it does this and this and this. I
yeah,
I really like that.
it definitely gives markers of what does it mean to have life, what does it mean to be human, what does it mean to be living, and just hearing that, I can't argue against that. That all makes logical sense to me.
Right.
Um, it makes logical sense. I try to approach this, and we talked about this again, um, privately a couple nights ago. I don't know what night, my nights are blurring together, but you
Oh, that's
know,
fair.
when you approach this dialogue from the perspective of your faith, sometimes it can put off other people who don't share that perspective, right? You
Right.
and I are faithful people, and I don't really talk about my faith that in detail online, but I'm a faithful person, and people can sometimes shut down if you approach them from that perspective because they don't share the same belief systems, right?
Right.
And so it's important to kind of talk about this from a logical perspective instead of a faith-based one. And so that to me is purely logical. It's purely that science. It's giving the science,
Right.
right?
Right.
Um,
And I think it's truly definitive because I've heard a lot of the big pro-choice people like that God is in the Gray lady, I can't remember her name, and like
yeah,
Destiny and all these people who are pro-choice who like go out and debate it. I've heard them give specific things that like where life begins. Like Destiny's big one is sentience and consciousness. That's what he always says. But a really easy way to counter that is there are plenty of grown human beings that aren't sentient or conscious, people in
well,
comas, people with mental disabilities. You could go
right.
on and on and on. And that's the thing with every other goalpost you set for when does life begin? 2 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, any of those things, if you could in some way compare it to another part of human development, you're going to have to move the goalpost, you know? And so I
That's
think the
so
only
true.
logical answer is conception,
That's
logically.
whew, heat. That's heat, babe. That's heat because that's so true. That is so true. When you are moving you have to move the goalpost when you compare these different developmental stages to other aspects of human beings. Because you're right. I mean, we talk about people that are, in the hospital that are unconscious, that are on life support, people that have chronic disease, mental disease, biological issues, and you would never try to dehumanize them and strip them of their rights. You wouldn't just kill them off, right? Well, unless you're from
Right.
Canada.
I
That's
was
another.
about to say, unless you're on Nate,
But that's
don't
another
get us
stream.
started.
That's
Yeah,
another stream. That's not tonight. That's
no,
another stream, honey. That's another stream.
back burner.
But you would never want to dehumanize them and say that it's okay to just kill them off. And before we even move further with this discussion, I kind of want to just remind people what my position is. I am someone that has always been for bodily autonomy. For all adults, and I've said the word adults specifically because that's my principle. I think that all adults should have bodily autonomy, and that means that I'm anti-vax, according to far leftists. I think people should be able to put in whatever chemicals or no chemicals in their bodies. I believe that trans people should be able to chop their dicks off, chop their breast off, whatever the fuck they want to do. Let the
When
adults
they're
do it.
grown.
Let the adults do it, right? It's their bodies, it's their choice. And I've also come to believe that if women want to, if adult women want to have abortions, they should be able to have abortion. So I like to try to always be principled and consistent because that's the easiest thing to be, right?
Right.
It's easy to be principled, right? It's not difficult. And so, despite my stance on abortion in my personal life, I have always been morally and ethically against abortion. If one of my girlfriends said, "Hey, Cho, I'm thinking about terminating this pregnancy," I would tell her, "Girl, don't do that. That's not right. You shouldn't do that. It's not good for you. It's not good for the unborn child. It's not good for any parties involved, right?" Um,
Right.
but I would fight for her right to have it performed. Which there's a big cognitive dissonance there. I'll have to be honest with you. There's a massive dissonance there that I have, and so that's why I'm choosing now to kind of explore my position a little bit more.
Which is
Um,
very respectable. A lot of people feel that cognitive dissonance and they say, "Ooh, no, let's not address that because I don't like the way it makes me feel. It makes me feel icky."
yeah,
So,
yeah,
but I think that's how you grow,
yeah.
right?
And I felt icky about it for a long time. So yeah. And who knows? I may not come to any conclusions tonight, but it's something that
You
I
may
want to
not.
be thinking about and I want to be contemplating about and reflecting on. And I think that that's what you should do when you hold strong belief systems and you meet someone like Leah who becomes a close friend of yours and you see that this person who you admire has a different opinion. Well, why does she have a difference of opinion? And what does that say about my opinion? And should I evaluate my opinion to see, Can I learn something from her? Can iron sharpen iron here in this situation, right?
We
Um,
love that.
so that's what we're doing here. Um, so I guess we've kind of talked about this a little bit, but let's talk about some of the things that are I think are a little ridiculous. But I know the audience is going to want us to talk about it. What about the exceptions like rape, incest, fatal fetal anomaly in the life of the mother? What about that stuff? We're gonna be in the what is it called? The handmaid tales. Handmaid tales. What's going on with that?
Well, I can dispel a lot of that really quick. A lot of
Yeah.
people want to talk about the exceptions, what everybody screams about. However, we know for the past 22 years at least, since both the Guttmacher Institute and CDC have been both keeping track of abortion statistics, although it's not even 100% now with telemed, it's more confusing, but whatever. Since they've been keeping track, we know that the grand total, the average for those 22 years, in 22 years, that the statistics bear out that those exceptions only make up 1.8%. All of those
Combined.
exceptions combined make up
Combined.
1.8% of a million abortions a year
Hmm.
on average. Okay, in the past 22 years, it's gone up a little bit. It's not been that every single year, regardless. So those exceptions are very, very small part of this pool, right? And a lot of pro-life people in there, when they're in a discussion or debate, they say, well, let's say we take the exceptions out of it. Like, let's say that we agree the exceptions, like, say that would be okay. Would you agree that if it's not one of those exceptions, you would be pro-life? And of course, most people would say no because it's the bodily autonomy, the choice that they're looking
Right.
for. When
Right.
it comes to the actual exceptions, rape, incest, horrible things. I'm in the group of people that, I mean, if it's a child molester or a rapist, I'm totally cool with throwing them in the wood chipper, JD delay style. I mean, I'm not mad about it. I believe in the death penalty, and I think there could be an argument made that when you rape or molest a child, you're taking at least a part of that person's life. I mean, that's a big moral quandary a lot of people face. I think it could be made pretty simple because these people are sick and there's no curing them from that sickness, their sexual deviance, and they're only going to go on to harm society. So, hot take maybe, but that's how I feel about it.
That's another stream. That's
However,
another stream.
right, we can do another stream on that too. However, the child, the innocent unborn child in the womb, did not rape the woman or the
Right.
child, and it's horrific. I would never say that it's uh, I have a whole lot of sympathy for anybody in that situation. I cannot
Yeah.
possibly imagine. However, I heard an interesting comparison in one of these abortion debates that I've watched within the
Hmm.
past few years, and
Yeah.
it was a lady that said, "Okay, so let's say there's a woman who has a husband. She's married. She already has a couple kids, and one night she's on her way home from Pilates, and she's raped. And say she gets a DNA test when she's 8 months pregnant." And finds out that that child is her rapist. And because it's her rapist, she aborts it at 8 months, like in the womb. Extremely late term abortion. Like, how would you feel about that? And there are pro choice people that would be like, hey, her body, her choice. And it's that simple, right? But for me, that brings up a lot of this moral quandary. Like, for the people that felt that ick, like, I don't know about that. Well, where does that come from? It comes from your innate knowing in your heart that regardless of a terrible act, the baby is not at fault there.
The baby's innocent.
And right. And I feel
Collateral
like there's a lot of
damage.
that. Exactly. And it's terrible. Like nobody that is pro life is excusing any sort of terrible misconduct from rapists and pedophiles are terrible. Like I said, throw them in the wood chipper. That's how I feel about them, to be
Yeah.
quite frank. But the child, didn't do that. And to be also quite honest, the act of abortion will also not unrape the woman, if that makes sense. It's
Right.
not going
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
her heart heal anymore. And studies are showing now over the past year or two, we've only now started to get data, which is crazy on the subject. But a lot of people who have abortions after sexual assault are actually showing more regret than women who just had an elective abortion for some other
Really.
random reason, which is really interesting, right? I
That is
wonder why
really
that is.
interesting. That's yeah. Yeah.
So it's
And
crazy, right?
and to touch on that too, if you saw two adults, you just put two random average adults side by side, would you be able to tell that one was conceived by a rapist?
Right, right. Obviously not.
Do you know what I mean?
Obviously not. Right.
Um, of course, there are a lot of psychological hoops that child would have to go through knowing who their father was. And there would be a
Absolutely.
lot of grief with understanding and coming to terms with that, right? Because right from the jump, they don't have a normal situation. They have
Right.
to already kind of be without a father, because I can't think of any situation where, and I hate to say this, but I am happy to know that there is data coming out now on these very, very rare situations. I don't know if there's someone out there that has done interviews. My father raped my mom. I don't know if there are people like that have
There
done
are.
interviews.
There are.
Yeah, I
Live
want to.
Action is a
Yeah.
whole channel that has like interviews like that. Interviews
Okay.
like that.
I'll have to look that up. Can DJ, can you put a note, moderator, can you put a note to look up what I
Live
want to call
Action on YouTube.
a live action on YouTube? I gotta look that up.
They have
Um,
that the one video I sent you that was like ex-abortionist and abortion regret
yeah, the panel.
women. Live Action.
Yeah, I haven't watched it. It's a 60-minute video, but I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna listen to it tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, same people.
So that's what I think about. I think about that too. It's like, listen, just because someone has a rapist as a father, it doesn't mean that they deserve um less
The death
chances to
penalty,
live.
basically.
Yeah, because we have many children who grow up without fathers in the home, period. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
black, so I know firsthand in my community. I grew up in the hood of Toledo. Well, it was a nice-ish hood, but I grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood. I have many friends who don't have fathers, who never have fathers, and we know the statistics as it relates to absenteeism in terms of fatherhood. We know what those are. We know what those impacts are on children,
Yeah.
and so it
Less likely to
almost
graduate high school, go to college, more teen pregnancy, more criminal background,
it,
drugs, mental health, etc.
all of the above. And so while that's unfortunate for those children, do they deserve death?
Right. I made this comparison once
You know?
actually in an argument I was having in a YouTube comment section. I was like, because some basically there's this whole argument that if you know a child is going to live a miserable life by somebody
Right.
else's metric, by the way, it's them saying that,
Yeah. Yeah.
would it not be some kind of mercy to have an abortion? And I said, okay, so basically what you just said is that because you think this child surely will be miserable, they deserve the death penalty. That's literally what you just
Right.
said.
Right.
Because pro lifers, we don't hard pro lifers, if you will, we don't, we don't deny that there's suffering in the world, except to us. We seek to bring justice to the people who cause suffering, but also to end the suffering and not the sufferers. Our big fix, if you will, for the suffering isn't just kill everybody who's suffering. And
Right.
it's
Right.
looking more and more like that is, the far left. I mean, you've got programs like MAID, you have abortion, like,
Hmm.
there's all these things that are sterilizing and literally killing, especially some of our most vulnerable and young, and you have to wonder. Um, but about the exceptions, we got off on this tirade. Just to
Yeah.
finish that out,
Yeah.
we totally took a beer. So that was rape and incest. And was it rape, incest? Oh, fetal fatal anomaly.
Hmm.
I still myself have a little bit of trouble with this.
Yeah.
But I'm still pretty far hard pro life. Um, for fetal fatal anomalies, I feel like there should be some wiggle room. However, I also know that doctors really only know what they're talking about a certain percentage of the time. Miracles happen, things happen, and they'll say, "Oh, I don't know, neuroplasticity or miracle." They're literally call it a miracle. They didn't know that was going to happen. So
Right.
I think just because a doctor tells you, like, "Hey, normally when we see this, it doesn't turn out well," that also maybe shouldn't mean that you give the baby the death penalty, thinking that maybe they're going to die anyway. When we have
Yeah.
a loved one that gets sick, we put them on hospice. We don't send them to Canada to get mated. Like that's just my own
Girl.
personal opinion.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
that, and then life of the mother. That's really about the only one. Even the most staunch pro-lifers will say, okay, for the life of the mother, but that actually truly means the life of the mother because
Right.
even as pro-life as anybody is, we don't believe that two people should have to die. just to, somehow validate our beliefs to ourselves.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And for many, many reasons, a mother's life could be in danger. But the short answer would be, if it's past accepted viability, which in the US is anywhere between 20 and 22 weeks, that's still a long NICU stay. That's still a really difficult road, but that is, baby could survive outside of the womb. C-section, emergency C-section. And if
Mm-hmm.
it's not, any number of things. Most of the time, if it's life of the mother, it's something terrible has happened. She's already bleeding, and
Right.
or has already partially miscarried, and or it's an ectopic pregnancy. So all of those things are going to make sure that the baby does not survive anyway, if that makes sense. It's not like we're ending a life. You would just be kind of not performing miracles. You're not God to save somebody that's not gonna make it, unfortunately, and then killing mom in the process. That's not what
Right.
we aim to do at all. So I think I covered all the exceptions.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that makes sense. I always hate when people use those examples, and I also want to talk about the other extreme because something that has always bothered me from the far right is this idea that there are a lot of women that are getting extremely late term abortions. And I don't know if that's it. I mean, is the data showing that that's true? Because to me, this doesn't make logical sense for one reason. And the main obvious reason it doesn't make sense for women to be getting these, like, oh my God, I'm getting ready to have a baby in 2 weeks, let me abort it real quick, is because the complications for the abortions that late are higher risk for the woman than it is for
Than
her to
giving
just
birth.
giving birth. And so I feel like both sides sometimes throw out these exceptions and they try to make it seem like they're happening so often as a form of fear mongering. And I just want to know, is there any data that you've come across that shows that women are getting extremely late term abortions at alarming rates?
At alarming rates, no. I do think that there's a certain amount of, we're going to build this up like it happens, but we're going to make it a little crazy,
Yeah.
to fear monger or to pull at your heartstrings, whatever you want to say. I do definitely think there's a little bit of fudging the results
Hmm.
that happens with that. I mean, I have not personally found numbers, especially for the past few years, actual numbers, because it's really hard. Like, the way that they track abortions is difficult. Certain states don't have to register. These two
Privacy
bodies track,
laws. Hmm.
right, et cetera, et cetera. And it's difficult to pin down. Like, you could say an abortion happened here, but the details may be, hard to come across. So
Hmm.
that makes it very difficult. However, I've seen evidence with my own two eyes that they do happen.
Hmm.
Evidence I can show you. What I have,
Hmm.
two of the photos that are on the site that I told you about are a
Hmm.
28 and a 32 week. Um, Abortion, to put it simply, which is
Wow.
crazy. It's a totally formed human being. It's a baby that looked like my baby when they were born, and it's fucking catastrophically horrible. So
Wow.
I can say that it happens. That it
Hmm.
happens at all is pretty horrifying to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and maybe that's why it's pushed so heavily, because people are naturally more horrified by that than the little thing that looks like a bean and you can barely
Yeah.
tell it's a
Yeah.
human. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Um,
Right.
but I can't give you a statistic, and I won't be dishonest and make one up. But that's something I would love to look into, because it's not something I've come across yet. But it'll be something I'll take some notes to look into.
Yeah. Okay. So let's take a little bit of a break. We've only covered two questions. We've got more to talk about. How's everyone enjoying the conversation so far? I just want to check in with the chat. We've got a long wait right now. I'm not reading comments exactly. If you want to have a comment be read immediately during our discussion, give a motherfucker a super chat. It's only $1. I think the minimum's $1. Put $1 in the chat if what you got to say is really that important and you want us to comment on it. Then give us a super chat, okay? Otherwise, you have to just wait until our discussion is done, and then we'll start reading comments and kind of having a back and forth with the audience. Um,
Madison Rose has said something interesting. I just saw it on the bottom here.
okay, you want to read it?
I have so much to say on the matter. I live in Boulder, Colorado, and have a friend who went through an extremely late term abortion that almost cost her life. Driving and doing talk to text. So sorry if that sounded wild. No, that made sense. Please be careful.
That's crazy. I want you to I want you to park your car and I want you to give us more details about about this late term abortion because again, what kind of doctor is going to give a woman a late term abortion that could literally cost her life instead of just going through the birthing process and giving the child up for adoption. That to me seems so reckless for a doctor and so illogical for an individual to make the decision and to be surrounded by family and friends who I assume is probably supporting that decision. It just seems like a really crazy thing to occur all the way around. Um,
Techno comes with a good point.
Girl, I mean, what kind of what kind of doctors are going to do sex changes on children? That's another stream. That's another stream. You're right, but that's another stream. You're right. No, you're right.
D
You're right.
Hogan, that's not true. You're lying. It's happening. I promise. It's
Um,
happening. I'm not saying it's
that's
happening 100,000 times a year, but it happens.
that's right. I mean, okay. So let's keep talking through our notes, Leah. We got a little bit into the chat. We can dive into the chat and
Hmm.
get we'll be talking to them bitches for
Oh,
hours.
I know.
So let's focus on our notes. Um
Hmm.
so, I kind of brought up just now why wouldn't the woman just have the child and then adopt and then give the child up for adoption? And one of our notes is about how fucked up the adoption system is. And I want you to talk about this, but I am going to give my very short-lived opinion. I'm not that informed, but what I do know is that it's easier to pay for a surrogate to have a child than it is to get to adopt a child that's already born. To me,
It's
that is
wild.
just so fucked up and so crazy to me that it's
Yeah.
literally easier and cost effective and less timely to just pay for a womb, to rent a womb. Don't get me started on that. I
It's
have
also easier to adopt a child from another country.
Yeah, you can just go on your phone and look at, children from Africa or China and just pick which ones you want to adopt. It's
Right.
wild to me. It's so wild when we have so many American children right here who need
In the
loving
system.
homes. I if that is just that perturbs me a lot. And that's I think where a lot of my personal angst against abortion comes from is, as a gay person, I would, you know, I'm not going to get into my personal story and wanting to have children, but I've always wanted to be a dad, right? And so it it's terrible that for people that want to adopt, they make it so difficult, right? Um,
Agreed.
And I think the difficulty of the whole adoption system, it just makes it easier for women to make these, in my opinion, poor decisions to get abortions. Um, but what have you come across in terms of adoption?
Well, I know I've had a few friends who have gone through the adoption process at various points.
Yeah,
Some have dropped out. One particular couple that I'm thinking, very well off couple, higher middle class. Who eventually were like, look, this is too much. It's too much money. It's too much. They do 15 background checks and they expect you to do all these, you have to have certain vaccinations. This is another whole thing, health checkups and life insurance policies. And, you know, it's a whole circus, it feels like sometimes. And this is one
yeah,
adoption agency. I'm not saying it's also like this everywhere in the US,
yeah, yeah,
but this is my anecdotal experience. It's a lot of hoops to jump through, right? When we know that there's at any point in time like 2 to 3 times the children in America that want to be adopted on some sort of adoption waiting list or in some kind of foster care,
hmm
than there are parents that are approved to adopt a child. And the waiting list is so long, and people who want to do it is so long, and um, it's definitely definitely something that needs improving. And I think that there's a very strict system in place for like open versus closed adoption. I think there's we need to kind of go back to the drawing board with that and kind of try to figure out um, some different ways to do that. Like open adoption, meaning basically you're part of the family. Closed,
Right.
meaning we're going to act like you never existed. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
I think
yeah.
there need
Uh-huh.
to be more options, et cetera. Because I think also for a mother who's considering adoption, that can probably be really daunting and scary to think like I have these two, like either they want to send me pictures every month and want me to come to holidays or never
Right.
see my child.
That's
Like,
awkward. That's
yeah,
that's
right,
that's a tough situation for the biological mother to be in, for sure.
right. It's
Um,
difficult. So,
and then I also think about the foster care system. You know, there's so much at play here when it comes to our children, and I feel like a lot of these decisions are actually not really incentivizing people to take care of kids, and we're not looking for the best interest of our children. You know, why is it that fostering is relatively easier to do, and you get paid by the government to do it?
right.
You
That's
get I,
crazy. And to adopt a child to make sure that this child is going to be your actual legal responsibility, and you have no incentive to just give it back if it makes you mad, right? Him or her.
yeah,
Then you know you have to pay thousands of dollars, and maybe you'll get approved. It's crazy, right? It's a whole the whole
it's
system needs to
wild.
be torn down.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
I do know a couple that fostered a couple kids with the intention of adopting them. So I do know that some people try to segue from fostering into adoption, and I don't know if that's an easier pathway. I don't know because I have not done the research. So like guys, these are just all my opinions. I'm not the most informed on this subject material. But I do,
Easier, perhaps.
yeah,
Perhaps, but EZ, DCS, I could do. We could do a whole live on them because I think
yeah.
they're the biggest child trafficking ring in the United States. Me
Oh my
personally,
God.
that's just my
Okay.
opinion. They're very dirty, and once CPS takes a child from a home, or lets you foster a child, whatever, whichever side of it you're on, they are very reluctant to actually adopt and give full parental rights of that child to someone because you got to think that's not only a lot of control but a whole lot of money they're going to lose. It's money in grants, it's money in child support, you know what I mean? um, Tons of resources, and so it's all a really dirty game.
It's all about the money, baby. It's all about the money. We all love money.
Always.
And even on the backs of children and innocent people, we love money.
Yeah, it's messed up. That's why I think about why would abortionists perform abortions, right?
Right.
For money.
So, I was a little bit surprised at, and maybe my just my own perspective is distorting my reaction, but it didn't seem like abortions costed that much money. They
No,
seemed
couple $100.
to be really cheap, and I find that to be really wild. Um,
And don't forget telemed abortions, you don't even have to go anywhere, which is wild and so dangerous. How they are able to do that, I will never understand.
you just pick up a phone and say, "Hey, I want to get an abortion.
Or
When
maybe
can
you
you
do a video call.
when can you book me?" That's wild.
No, like, and by the way, for those of you who don't know, I was telling Cho this earlier, and he also didn't know this. I'm not going to name them all, but there was a few women. There was four that I can think of off the top of my head in the past year. That of course all Democrats blamed on pro-life people. Women who died relating to abortion. Right. Three of those four were abortions done. The one wasn't. One traveled out of state, and that's a whole nother thing, and got a surgical abortion, but three of the four were based on telemed abortions where they did not get an ultrasound, which is one of the steps you have to do when you go get a surgical or medication abortion in person. And because they didn't do that, and the whole point of doing that when you do it is to detect ectopic pregnancy. And if you don't detect the ectopic pregnancy, it could, by taking all these drugs that's meant to excise the child, it could literally make you hemorrhage and die. And that's what
Wow.
ultimately happened with all with three of the four. The other four, she ended up going into sepsis from infection because they didn't get all of the product, which is neither here nor there to the
Yeah,
argument. But yeah, that's crazy.
that's absolutely wild. I can't believe that this. I mean, it's so reckless to me. Um, it's so reckless to me. And you brought up another point about crossing state lines. I was reading some graphs, and the abortion tourism is crazy. And some of
Oh
those
yeah,
neighboring states to Texas, it's crazy. And as a libertarian, mostly as a conservative leaning libertarian, I definitely believe in states' rights. I believe that the more control neighborhoods and communities have over their neighborhoods, the better. Um, but this does create a really interesting discussion about whether this should be a country, like a federal law, or should it be for the states? And if it is just something for the states, what do you do about the tourism? What do you do about people
right.
crossing state lines to kill their babies?
There's nothing you could do. I mean, if it was going to be a ban, it really needs to be a nationwide ban, which a lot of people have a lot of trouble with, even though a ban would allow for at least some of the exceptions. Everybody who's even, pretty far pro life has said if there were to be a ban, we would agree that it include at least some of these exceptions, right?
Hmm.
Because again, even having an honest argument, we see the statistics 1.8%. If we
Right,
were to get rid of all the abortions that happened, minus those, I mean, we're still saving 820,000 lives a year.
right.
I can live with that. You know what I mean? That's a great step. And we thought that doing, overturning Roe versus Wade, putting it back to the states, we thought we would at least see some decrease. And actually, with the telemed abortions, you've seen the data. I sent you the
Yeah.
graphs or whatever. I mean, it's increased the past few
I
years,
was
which is
so shocked by that. I was so
mind
shocked
blowing.
by that.
Mind blowing.
I was
But
so
and that's
shocked by
why,
that.
yeah, they
Ugh.
shouldn't be able to do telemed abortions. It's just so dangerous. Like I understand that. I think a lot of them are really trying to help. I would like to believe their hearts are in the right place, but like, how do you not know
Well,
how dangerous?
I'm gonna bring it down back to the basics and remind people that you should not be using abortion as birth control.
I feel like some people need to hear that.
Because let's get back to the basics of why we're talking about abortion. Why are we talking about abortion? I'll tell you why we're talking about abortion. The reason we're talking about abortion is because you decided to open your legs. And we have gotten so far away from what sex is biologically meant to be, and we now view it as just the most casual thing due to technology, due to advancement in technology and the ability to have protection and to not get pregnant. Whenever you have sex, you are literally planning to have a baby. Whether you have a
Yeah,
condom on or not, you are planning to have a child when you have sex. And I think
the
we need
only
to
safe
get back
sex.
to that. The only safe sex is no sex. If you don't want to have a baby, you should not be having sex. If you want to mitigate your risk to zero, you should not be having sex. Now I know you guys are gonna be, but Charles, that's so unrealistic. Well, you know what? The realistic option is having a child and then having to put yourself in a position where you now have to murder that baby. And that is just crazy to me. That's so reckless and irresponsible. And I feel like, I'm really big on personal accountability, and I find that people
Yeah,
that tend to get these abortions, I'm
are not
sorry,
a lot of.
but
They don't
a
have
lot of
accountability.
times you don't have any personal accountability. What are you talking about? The father's not going to be a part of your life. Why are you sleeping with a man that wouldn't be a part of your child's life?
Right.
I
You act
mean,
like this just got dropped on your head and you didn't make a series of decisions that got you here.
it's like
Yeah.
bad decision after bad decision after bad decision, and then when it's time to pay the bill for the food that you ordered, you want to put the bill on the baby. Now the baby's got to pay the bill. When you ordered all
Yeah.
this food, you made all these decisions. That to me is what really bothers me about abortion. from a moral and ethical perspective. I don't understand it. I don't get it. Um, and
Yeah, I
I think
totally
it's
agree.
unfortunate. I think it's just really unfortunate that we've gotten so far away from what sex is meant for that we now have a lot of people using abortion as um as a way to have safe sex. And it's I think it's wild.
I I feel like abortion in this day and age has become a way for people with no morals or ethics to have gratuitous sex with no obligation or responsibility. Let's just
Hmm.
put it as simply as I can.
Yeah.
Um, and that in and of itself kind of disgusts me. Um, Love you so much, Mary. Sorry, I just saw that out of the corner of my eye.
Hmm.
And I think that that's disgusting. I think that we could go into a whole thing about sexual deviance and ethical relationships and sexual responsibility, and there's these whole rabbit holes that we could go down.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But I
Of
think,
course.
like we were talking about, I think just the simple logic of the matter. We know now, we're finding out more and more information. Scientists are sciencing and finding all sorts of new things. We can see now that when sperm meets egg, zygote is created. This is, they always say, my body, my choice, but it's not your body. It's growing inside your body, but it's a unique human being that takes some DNA from you, some DNA from dad, but then it's its own, hair color, race, um, e- um, favorite food, dislikes, whatever you believe
Right.
is
Yeah. Yeah.
genetic, whatever we know is genetic. Like those things are a combination of the both of you, but it's not you. I mean, to think like that would make you draw ridiculous conclusions. Like when a woman is pregnant, she must have four arms, four legs, and two heads. That doesn't
Right.
make any sense,
Right.
like
Right. Hmm.
obviously. So I think that's also important to kind of steer away from that kind of thinking because that
And
that
yeah.
promotes the whole autonomy, which I
Yeah, and
respect.
that's why I want to kind of go into that because that has really been my biggest hang up, and that is your response there makes perfect sense. Like, who are we to legislate other people's bodies? Well, it's not just your body that we're talking about in this equation, and we are talking about another life. And so I really do have to come to terms with, you know, how do I parse that out? You know,
And
um,
plus, we also legislate other people's bodies all day, every day. We tell you, even if you do it, we tell you you're not supposed to use illegal drugs. You're not supposed to drink and drive. You're not supposed to take your own body and go rape somebody with it. You know what I mean? Like,
that's
there
true.
are
That's true.
laws and cultural norms that we have mostly as a society agreed like, hey, we believe that you should be able to do whatever you want,
Right.
but I think that this thing, rape, murder, etc., is degradative enough to society. It causes enough of a harm or risk of
Hmm.
harm that we're just not going to allow it, right? And we
Right.
know instinctively and logically that murdering a grown human is wrong. Yet somehow we're in a place in our society where people not only accept but glorify murdering a baby, the most helpless among us. Like,
Hmm.
how did we get here is my
Yeah.
question. How did I make that make sense in my head? And it goes back to also being like programmed, manipulated. It's just a clump of cells. It's not even alive. This
Clump of
starts
cells.
when
Yeah.
we're young. It starts in sex ed when you're young. They try to dehumanize. It's a fetus. It's a clump of cells. It's not a human life. Um, and I think they have to do that, or else by the time we reach any kind of age of reason, we say, "Hey, something's fucked up
Yeah.
here."
Yeah. And the pro-choice movement, I feel like the data shows that especially young people, um, people tend to be overwhelmingly in support of pro-choice. Um, and why do you think that is? Do you think it's because of the programming from an early age? Um, is that kind of why you think that the pro-life movement has been kind of on the back burner in terms of popularity?
That that and the blatant disinformation, misinformation,
Yeah,
even things like we
the
nobody ever
science.
wants to talk about, right? And like Margaret Sanger, the woman who founded Planned Parenthood and
Let's
literally
talk about her.
inspired Hitler. She
Let's talk
inspired
about her.
Hitler.
Hmm.
He literally mentioned her in several of his speeches. It's not like they
Right.
distantly knew each other. He met her and he said, "Whoa, this is a great idea. I'm going to go start the Holocaust." That's crazy. And this is a woman that was venerated for decades, right?
And she
And
was
she
like,
was
"Go Hitler,
just
go! Go Hitler, go!" Love that idea.
right, right. And like I read on live stream once, I read like 10 of her quotes, and they're just bombastically horrible. Like
Yeah.
she was one of the most racist, and not just that, like racist, sexist, ageist. Like she
Hmm.
hated everyone. And why are there more abortion clinics in inner cities and rural
Talk
areas?
about it. Let's talk about
You
it.
know, like let's be really honest here, because her original plan was to get rid of the poor, the mentally handicapped, and everyone that wasn't blonde hair, blue eyed, white, not just
Hmm.
white, blonde hair, blue hair,
Right. Right.
blue eyed, perfect Aryan white. So it's like,
Hmm.
and I think that there's when there's such a demonic root to something, there's
Hmm.
that's something to be said for that thing, even years and years and years on. If it
Of
started in such an
course.
evil, terrible way, I think that matters.
Right.
And then we look at the people who push these things, and they're the same people who want to trans the kids, who want to start things like MAID, and just overall seem to have absolutely no value for life. And I think
Maybe
that
it's a
also matters.
coincidence. Yeah, maybe it's a coincidence. It's all the same people. Mm.
Right. And I
It's really
also think
interesting.
there's a part of it that, that I held on to for a long time that you still at least partially hold on to, and that is you and I are very similar in our kind of political stance of libertarianism. I've not met a
Hmm.
lot of people that share my mindset to that degree, and it's
Yeah.
pretty much literally do whatever you want as long as you're not hurting anybody else. But like, you
Hmm.
can't kill people or rape people or do nothing like that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I I don't think that's that radical, but having that sort of a belief system just naturally kind of preludes you into like, well, if it's your body, do whatever you want with it. And I think that's the biggest obstacle we have to overcome in the pro-life movement and having
Yeah.
these discussions is just those four words: my body, my choice, and the idea that life begins at some arbitrary, constantly moving goalpost when we
Yeah.
know now science has proven a new zygote that produces a completely unique genetic code begins the moment the egg is fertilized. Like, bam, and it's done.
I think that's the
So
sticking point for me. That's the sticking point is that detail um about where life begins. 'Cause I think that's where the core argument is for a lot of people. And when you compare that again to what you just said about moving the goalpost, you've had people saying, "Oh, but 6 weeks, that's when we should start it." Oh no, it should be 10 weeks. Oh no, it's like, well, these are all different forms of life, and we can see this
right,
in other forms of development, human development. Even you can have adults that don't have mental capacities anymore. So it's like if you're advocating for the death of one human entity that doesn't have mental capacity, then why wouldn't you keep that same energy? It's all really for
right,
me. It's all about trying to keep your principles as
consistency,
straightforward and consistent as possible, right?
right.
Because you
And
don't
when
have to think
somebody
about it.
can't, oh, I wonder, like, does
Yeah,
your
yeah,
logic?
yeah. And I really hate the fact that in my black community we see so much abortion. And listen, that's three streams right there. We can talk about the black community for three different streams. Um, but the father absenteeism and the broken homes and the degradation of the family unit and the abortion and the recklessness, the impulsive behavior, both in terms of violence and in terms of just selfishness. Um, Us blacks, we got a lot of shit to work through, in my opinion. Um, but I don't think that aborting children is going to help the community. I think that being accountable and practicing that personal accountability ability is what is going to pull Black people from the toxic culture that we're currently in. So I did just want to
Radical
say that.
accountability.
Yeah, I did want to say that. Yes, radical accountability is what Black people need. Um,
I agree.
so
Exactly. Green tea. Sorry, I just saw that. That's
yeah,
exactly my point earlier. Some people say it begins at conception, some at first breath. Well, we know now. I think you missed the beginning, Green Pete. Welcome. Where I
Yeah.
read, there's two of the world's leading and U.S.'s most famous embryologists. They literally wrote the textbook all other biologists and embryologists read to study, and they have conclusively noted within the past few years life begins at conception. I read a quote from them earlier on in the stream, and they said this is why they gave several markers for why it begins at conception. Basically, sperm meets egg, and there's a unique genetic code, a unique, never before seen person that will never be replicated. That's created that is not, in fact, mom or dad, but a combination of both to make this thing. And you I feel like that's the only logical answer because any other answer is a constantly moving goalpost. Any other answer could be, well, he says this and she said this, exactly like you said. Pardon me. That's
Mhm.
the dangerousness of that kind of an argument is because it's relative, right? That type of
Right.
whatever the goalpost is changes with every person you ask. And even
Mhm.
sometimes will change when you ask somebody this week and you ask them next week. It's constantly evolving. Whereas
Right.
if we treat it as life from conception, that's unanimous across the board. You know what I mean? That's not
Right.
moving any goalposts anytime soon. And that's
You don't got to
a
think about it.
consistent,
You don't got to think about it.
right? Consistent.
Yeah. So the last thing I have on our list, and then we can kind of, just interact with the comment section, is something kind of a throwaway comment that I hear quite often that I find to be. Is that your doggy?
Who me?
Did you talk to your? Oh, that was you sneezing. I
Yeah,
thought
I'm
you. I
sorry.
thought you were calling your dog. I was like, oh, is your
No,
doggy here?
no, no
um.
dog.
Sorry. So anyway, the last thing I want to talk about with you is this insulting thing I hear people say all the time, where they compare babies to being parasites. I think
Mhm.
that is so insulting because you are literally saying that this baby doesn't offer any value to the mother. It's like
Agreed.
she just got a fucking tapeworm. That this is so annoying to her. It's just so
Yeah.
annoying. It's just she's got this parasite she's got to deal
How
with. She's
dare
like
you?
she's sick in the hospital. It's like she's sick. You know, I
Hmm.
find this to be so utterly insulting, and I'm not even a woman. Um,
And see, and I always approach that kind of argument with that kind of response until you want me to share my thing. Is that where you're going with
yeah,
this that I shared with you earlier?
absolutely.
So I Googled the definition because I thought of something interesting today, and then I wanted to Google the definition to make 100% sure I was right because I was looking for a logical way to refute that argument, as I usually
Hmm.
do. And so I
Right.
found, just by Googling parasite definition, that a parasite is an organism that lives in or on another organism and derives its nutrients by depriving a separate species that is its host of theirs. So a parasite is not human to human or tapeworm to tapeworm. It's actually totally different species. Totally, it's like apples to oranges, which is what a lot of people like to compare.
Interesting. Okay.
When it comes to heated discussions. But I just thought that was really interesting because I had never seen anybody kind of counter with that. Like, let's bring it down.
With
I feel like
actual
if somebody,
science. Imagine that the science
right,
being beaten by science. We love
right.
that. We
I feel
love
like if
that.
somebody were to say that, but it was just a parasite in some kind of actual debate now, I would have that in my back pocket ready to pull out.
You
Like,
have that
when
loaded.
it's
You have that
getting
bullet
better
loaded. That
compared.
bullet is loaded in the gun,
Mhm.
ready to go.
Hmm.
Um. Well, this has been interesting. Let's read some comments. Let's read some comments. That has been very enlightening, Leah. I just want to thank you so much for
Yeah.
being a friend of mine and being able to educate me on this topic because, like I said, I'm not well educated or informed on abortion because it's never been something that I thought was important to me. And I know it's very important to you, so I want to treat it with respect, and I want to be open to dialogue because that's what we do here. We have
Thank you.
conversations. We
Yes.
talk. We fucking talk. So now let's read some comments. You guys have some comments. We didn't get not one super chat. You broke bitches.
Rude.
You broke
I see
bitches.
one. I know you don't like to skip, but I saw one right at the bottom here from Green Tea. Please address the argument I
Oh,
hear. If the unborn are a person, why don't they have funerals and burials for miscarriages? They do all the time. Literally all the time. When my uncle passed away in Moncks Corner, South Carolina, we put him right next to his stillborn daughter that was stillborn at 32 weeks and had a tiny little baby coffin. And I've had several friends, and depending on how far along you are when you miscarry, if you don't have to have a DNC and you actually have to deliver your dead baby, they will give you a birth and death certificate, and you can take it. You can have that baby taken care of there or sent to a funeral home. Usually, because the hospital they can deal with smaller bodies. It's a really gross topic, but they do. They get buried and have funerals all the time.
and
It's just people don't
also,
talk about it.
I know lots of women that have had miscarriages, and for some unfortunate reason, there's a lot of shame involved with
Oh,
miscarriages.
that's true. That's
There's a
true.
massive amount of shame because my good friend, I'm not gonna say her name, but her sister, you know who I'm talking about. You know, if you're watching, homegirl, you watch. I know you watch my live sometimes, but when you told me that your sister had 3 miscarriages and didn't tell a soul about it, other than her sisters, that like broke my heart. It's like this thing that happened in secrecy, and like and then she blamed herself for it, and like some women don't want others to know that they've had miscarriages, even though they are so fucking
Very
they happen
common.
off. They're
They're
very
very
common.
common.
They happen
Very
so
common.
often, and so I don't know what that's about, Leah. Why women feel like it's their fault that they're having miscarriages.
That's a
I don't
great
know.
question. I've seen that anecdotally in my own life as well, and with my friends. So that's a good question. That's a very good question.
Yeah, it
And
made me
might I
really
say,
sad.
it does. And might I also say, another interesting discussion or sticking point for being pro-life, because we know how incredibly common or not abortions, I'm sorry, miscarriages are. So for a baby to make it far enough to be growing and be healthy and not to have been miscarried,
Right,
aren't they
right.
already a miracle? I'm
What a
just
missed
saying.
opportunity. Yeah, what a missed opportunity for sure. And it always seems to me like the women who are in stable marriages and stable homes with, decent income, it's always those girlies that are having trouble having children. And then it's the irresponsible, the narcissistic women that are having these abortions. The selfish ones are
Yeah.
the ones that are just like throwing children away, literally.
Yeah.
That's upsetting to me. Um,
Yeah.
that's upsetting to me.
It's not fair at all.
Let people choose whether they want to do that or not. Well, people do have that choice for the most part. Shrill shrimp.
You don't have to drive far. The furthest you'd have to drive in the United States is a state or two away.
So Neon, I just want to let you know. So Neon says that sounds more like coddling for religious beliefs, which are a choice. Doesn't mean you force those beliefs onto other people, lady. We have never, not once in this entire live stream, rewind the tape, talked about religion or faith. We have not given any opinion tonight based off of
For all
faith.
you
We've
know, I'm
given
an
opinions.
atheist.
As for all, yeah, us motherfuckers are atheists based on the conversation that we had tonight because we approached everything using data, science, graphs, logic, like that. We intentionally did not bring up religion or faith because of that reason. So don't say no bullshit like that. What the fuck are you talking about? You haven't watched the live stream. And even the people who have been here who disagree with us would probably defend us and say, no, you're wrong, Neon. They haven't used religion as a way to back up any of their claims. What are you talking about?
Right. I can kind of agree, Green Tea, to answer your question about people who disagree but don't believe the government has a place in the doctor's office. I get that. That goes again back to a libertarian mindset, like pretty much get out of our small government, get out of our business type of mindset. However, you would certainly want the government in the courtroom if your, wife was assaulted or your mom was robbed or your friend was gunned down in the street, right? Um, there are certain times when things are such a detriment to our society, we allow the government to be involved to protect us as a greater society. And I think that abortion should be one. I think it's big enough of a deal, personally.
Also, this is a really interesting question. Hey, Yusuf, I remember you. Welcome back. And you're welcome by Felicia for the convo. And by the way, Green Tea, you did come in a little bit late, but I am the person you're talking about. I'm what Leah calls the soft pro-lifer. I am the one who's against abortion ethically and morally, but I'm for abortion legally. So I'm the one that you're talking about there. Um, but Joey has a really good question. Do you think women who choose abortion should be punished?
The only time I told show this earlier, well, part of it anyway. Most pro-lifers believe, just like we were explaining earlier, actually, that women have been kind of lied to, deceived, perhaps even coerced, whether it's like a downright coercion or more of a societal soft coercion, into believing that it's not what it is when they have an abortion. Most women do believe it's just a clump of cells. It's not a life. I'm not killing anyone, and so for that reason, I say no, unless maybe they have multiple abortions. I do think there should be some type of I mean, I've had people in my life, relatives of friends, who have had 4 or 5 abortions. I think you should get something for that. Maybe it's forced sterilization. Maybe that's too far. I don't know. I don't know what it should be, but they should have some kind of punishment. When you're doing all that, you're hurting yourself, you're killing a bunch of. I don't think that's right. But no, for the most part, most of us
Yeah.
believe it's the abortionists that should bear the weight of that responsibility,
Yes,
not the women.
I'll add my opinion to that, Joey. Really great question. By the way, but obviously, if abortion is legal in your state, then no, you shouldn't be punished for abortion. I I'm still struggling with this, Leah. I'm still struggling with this.
I
It's
know
hard for me.
it's
It's
hard.
really hard
It's hard.
because in Cho's perfect world, no one would get an abortion.
Right.
No one would choose to get an abortion in my perfect world. No one would think, "Oh, I want to kill my baby." But that's just not the world we live in. Um, and I don't want to believe that women are just recklessly choosing to kill their children, but when you're getting multiple abortions, you're using abortion as birth control, and that is reckless. And so, again, I think that punishing the people that are actually benefiting from it, the doctors, is where you start. The ones the experts, the expert class, the elites that are the ones performing these surgeries. Same thing with the people chopping and slicing and dicing up young children, young girls, chopping their breast off. Yeah, they're the ones that should be punished, not the children, right? Not the children. Um,
And that would
so I,
also actually lessen abortion, I think.
well, there you go. But so yeah, I don't think that in general, I find it really difficult to punish women that choose to get abortions because I still feel like they should have a choice. But I just it makes me feel really icky that people are choosing to get abortions, and I really abhor um, doctors who um, do it for financial gain, who put out misinformation, who don't do the right consults or thorough consults. I think they bear a lot of the responsibility by enabling such a horrific decision from a mother.
I agree. I do think some of them, their hearts are in the right places.
Yeah,
The live action video I sent you was some ex-abortionists talking about like when they did abortions and why they stopped. I actually think those are very powerful voices for the movement. And I think the few that I've seen on varying degrees, obviously, were either in denial or, kind of had like baby body parts hidden from them, like scooped away as soon as they could. Like they
yeah,
kind of never really had to deal with sitting and looking at the baby. And I think a lot of them, I think that they were thinking they were right at the time, and then of course all of them come to their senses eventually. But I agree to even accept doing something like that for money. If they were volunteering their services, I could have a lot more respect for them because then it
Yeah.
would seem like they're actually trying to help people. But doing
Right.
it for
Yeah.
money
Yeah.
seems extra evil. Yeah.
Whenever you add the money, the monetary component, it adds a little bit of sus to it. A little bit of sus sauce. A little bit of sus
Yeah.
sauce is added to that. Techno 15 has an interesting question that I'm going to answer pretty bluntly. He says, I'm curious if or when AI becomes sentient, would you feel the same way if artificial intelligent life is aborted before they can form? No, because artificial intelligence is artificial. It's in the name. It's artificial.
Yeah.
For me, for me,
Nothing.
it's
Yeah.
that simple. Artificial intelligence is artificial. Full stop. So no, I would not feel the same about intelligent artificial intelligence being aborted. I mean, your AI
Yeah.
girlfriend, if you unplug her, I mean, are you gonna have a funeral for your AI girlfriend? I don't know. I'm being facetious, but no, I don't. And then he has a follow up question. Artificial life in theory should be able to become sentient to some scientists. The scientists are not always right, as we have proven today. There is lots of debate about the science, and a scientist telling me that artificial artificial intelligence is now a sentient human life being, that makes no sense to me. So I mean,
Yes, of
um,
course. That's different. Tech. That's different. And I feel like you know that. You're just coming up with wild things to retort now. If you want to give an actual argument, we could have an argument or a debate.
yeah. What are we talking
Um,
about bugs for now? What does killing bugs have to do with
he's comparing them to human lives. Like you kill bugs,
Well,
right?
well, we're not talking about sentient beings. We're talking about human beings. The discussion is about human beings, not sentient beings, because plants are
Right.
sentient too. I mean, you know what I mean? So I don't. To me, that's that's a whole different argument.
Yeah. They
Um,
respond to stimuli. They respond to light sources.
yeah, I mean, some plants are sentient beings, but we're not talking about sentient. We're talking about human beings. We're talking about human beings. Um,
I did see Green Tea had a message about how do I feel about, and I think he said 7 states a
yeah.
rapist still has the right to fight for custody of his child. I think that's fucking wild. I don't know that that's the case. I know that it is a thing some places. It would shock me
What
to know that
what
it's
7 states are
seven,
those?
right?
I like to know that. I like to know that information.
It would shock me to know that that's seven. I think that's disgusting. I think for one, you have to admit that you're a rapist to be able to fight for your
Yeah, I mean,
victim's
wouldn't you be
child.
in jail?
So,
The
plus
fuck? Would you?
a rapist having, a child, like access to a child, is fucking wild. Like what? Oh, thank
What
God! I
court?
was
Yeah,
waiting to say to.
like what court would say? First off, the courts hate men. Let's start there. When family court, the courts hate men. So already, what court is going to let a rapist have access to their child? Now, I'm sure that some people, I'm playing devil's advocate here, but some people that are in relationships, I've seen some discussion about this. I haven't really dived deep into it, but if a wife says, "No, I don't want to have sex with you," and then her husband rapes her, what's that about? You know what I mean? Is that technically rape,
Yeah,
right?
marital rape, which is legal still in a few states in the U.S. For the record, marital rape is still legal in some states. It just
Wow.
quit being legal in Tennessee a few years ago, which is wild, and that makes me ashamed to
Wow.
be a Tennessean. Like,
Wow.
yeah, for a very
So
long time,
yeah,
it
so there
wasn't
are
illegal.
some outdated laws and policies in place here, but I do wonder, um, what courts? are actually making judgments where this is a reality and actually impactful in society. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Is it actually happening?
Is it actually happening anywhere where the rapist is like has access to his children? I would hope not, but please show me where this is actually happening. Where we have some cases.
That Can you give us some examples, Green Tea? I'm willing to listen. I don't know that it's in effect. I would hope not. It's just not been um, criminalized yet, or like what's the word I'm looking for? There's a word. Oh Lord. Film like abortions don't have one. Next subject. You know what? If you don't like rape, don't rape anyone. If you don't like murder, don't murder anyone. Move on. We don't need to discuss murder.
I mean, it's
We
so
don't need
dumb.
to. No. Like
That's
how
so dumb.
how we've gotten here as a society blows my mind. I really just want to show these pictures on your stream to these people, but I'm not going to because that would definitely get demonetized.
We'll post them on the Discord. So we do. So I think we really should post. If you could, Leah. Hopefully this is not too much to ask, but maybe you can provide some of the resources and links that you gave me. I'll make like a thread within the I'll make like a thread within the politics channel, and you can just go and kind of give like a little dissertation, maybe copy paste some shit and links so that people
I
have
can do
that
it.
resource. Um, I think that would be really helpful. So everyone join the Discord channel. It is pinned in the comment section, in the comments below if you're on mobile, above if you're on PC.
Yeah, I'm
Copy that link
comparing
into
abortion to rape and murder. Sorry.
um yeah. Yeah, compare I mean paste that link into your web browser and you can join the Discord that way.
Yeah, abortion is murder. It's the intentional killing of a human being, a unique and whole human being separate from its parents with a unique genetic code that will never again come to exist. What else would you call that? Okay, I'm sending you graphic photos.
Okay.
This is what's crazy to me about a lot of people who are staunchly pro life.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, pro choice, is that people really try to say that babies aren't dismembered, that they're not, suctioning babies out whole, that you can't see the faces, that you can't see the body parts, that any abortionist or ex abortionist will tell you you literally
Right.
have to count to make sure you have them all so the woman doesn't get some weird infection.
Hmm.
So, these, if you guys want to also be traumatized, you could go to createdequal.org, which is a pro life institution and website that shows abortion photos. I mean, they're graphic. They're very graphic. Prenatal photos. They have resources, conversation starters, icebreakers. If you want to have conversations with people in your life about abortion, if you're pro-life, etc. Statistics, information, things like that. Um, I think that everyone that supports abortion should have to look at these photos. And maybe that's me
Hmm.
being heartless or petty, perhaps. I think they're terrible and kind of in the argument. But I
Yeah.
think it's really important, not just for the shock value of like, oh my gosh, poor babies, but I think anyone with a soul will look at those photos and feel something
Yeah. Yeah.
terrible. And I think that that's important. I mean, there's many people I've seen on like Change My Minds and people doing like man on the street type content, and they'll show abortion
The photo.
photos or that,
Hmm.
right, or the abortion procedure video that's just a cartoon that I sent
Hmm.
you. They'll show them that, and they'll
Yeah.
change their mind in the moment because it's so graphic. But it's not about it being graphic. It's the fact that we know Like the
Deep
moment
down.
we see something like that, we inherently know that that's wrong. And I think our automatic reaction to that is important. You know what I mean? I think that
I
that's
agree.
our instinct, our heart, our soul, whatever you might, want to call it, telling us like this is wrong.
Nick is pathological in the chat. We got a pathological person. He is giving anti-personality disorder adjacent. He says children are being killed daily everywhere. Care about them, not the unwanted ones. We don't care about unwanted children. Kill all the unwanted children around the world.
Wow.
Only
So
care
does
about
that
the one.
also count? Does that count for born children, the toddlers? What about the teenagers that get
the
buck wild with their parents?
the unwanted children. Just kill them, honey. You guys are funny.
Nick,
That's funny.
I want you to think for just a moment about the logic. You're trying to make logic here
The
for just a
logic's not
minute.
logicking there.
For just a moment. You're really saying because two people who had consensual sex, protected, not accident, whatever, they laid down as adults in bed and hooked up, and they can't take any type of responsibility for the fact that they did what it takes to have a child. So they decide it's an inconvenience. So because it's an inconvenience to them to take responsibility for their own orgasms, they're going to give another human being the death penalty before it gets the chance to take a breath.
I
Does
have
that
to
make
ask
sense to
Nick this
you?
question. When is it okay to stop killing unwanted children?
You tell when does life that's worthy of saving begin for you?
When does it begin? When do you
You
have to when do you not kill children that are unwanted?
There are zero unwanted children. Amen. There's lists of people on the adoption registry that specifically want children with disabilities or birth defects, etc., because they know that those are children more likely to get aborted.
What
There are
pulpit
no
are you
unwanted children.
what pulpit are you talking about? See, I think Nick has experienced some religious trauma, which is why he keeps talking about religion. We haven't brought up
When
religion
none
or
of us mention that.
Christianity. We haven't made any arguments based. We haven't read any Bible verses or quotes from Proverbs. We haven't said any of that shit. I don't know where's
Not
that
even
coming
one.
from. Where does that come from, Nick?
This is classic projection.
It's giving projection.
Classic.
It's giving projection.
Yes.
I'm confused why he keeps bringing up religion when we haven't brought religion up at all.
This really fucks them up. See, the pro choice people, when you have a conversation based on logic,
Yeah,
reason,
it's
like,
it's like then they go on
they
to
don't know
this
how to
whole
handle it.
some shit that we're not even talking about. I don't
You talk
understand
about
what.
straw men. They're building straw men over arguments we didn't even make.
Yeah, I mean he's arguing shit we have not argued, girl.
Abortion is just wrong. Classy Sunday crowd.
This is a classy Sunday crowd, DJ. We haven't had to ban too many people. I guess everyone people aren't really spamming that much. The spammers are not out on Sundays. I don't know why, because they have school in the morning. I don't know. The baby boppers they got school in the morning. So maybe that's why.
Uh, I'm gonna I'm gonna help you out, Nick. Let me help you out. I'm gonna tell you the difference between an abortion and say an appendectomy. Right? An abortion, two people go in, but only one person comes out, and it's an intentional murder of a baby. I don't know how I can say this any clearer. I
Nick,
just
you need
we've
Nick, go
been
rewatch the
discussing it
stream.
with.
We've been talking for 88 minutes. You dumb fucking cunt. You ignorant cunt. You just want to come in here and be hateful and be argumentative. That's fine. But like while you're
Move the
calling us
chat.
ignorant, you are really exposing yourself here. You are projecting. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You haven't been here for 88 minutes. We've had a very great discussion. Even the people that are pro-choice, that have been here the whole time, would probably say that this has been a pretty decent discussion. We vehemently disagree with things, but yikes.
No, what I've said is based on logic and facts. Statistics. By the way, I always use statistics from left leaning sources for a reason. I do it on purpose.
What's a Charlie Kirk debate? What's a Charlie Kirk debate? Horrible, hateful idiots. Ironic coming from you. It's always projection, honey. It's always projection.
Sir, you want to talk about a medical textbook? Let me mention the two embryologists that I brought up earlier, the liberal embryologists that literally wrote the textbook on embryology. You can look them up. I have their names right here. Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on. It's in my other thing. It was on my phone. They literally wrote the book on embryology, and they say we have no choice but to conclude, after their loss of research, that life begins at conception. Oh, you're just a heartless, horrible human being. So,
That's crazy. It's pretty
yeah.
crazy.
Imagine being so terrible of a person and trying to think that you can somehow lecture someone on morality. That's crazy. No, no. I didn't just say abortion's wrong, period. I gave you many logical and evidence based reasons abortion is wrong.
Anyway, I've got shit to do tomorrow. This has been a really great discussion tonight. I want to remind everyone that if you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Leave a like if you want to see more discussions like this. If you want to see me bring on guests, I'm still struggling with the idea of not being pro-choice. I've always been a pro-choice person. Um, and I have
Can
to
I say this
still,
real quick?
yeah, yeah.
Just for Nick? Look up Nick, okay? Doctors Keith L. Moore and T.V.N. Prasad, who literally wrote, co authored the embryology textbook, Developing Human Clinically Oriented Embryology, used all over the US and in other countries. And you can see what they have to say. Starts at conception. You're welcome. There's my
Yeah.
sources. Sorry.
And
Go ahead.
I mean, listen, Leah, this Nick guy, you don't have to even explain yourself. Some people are intentional when they try to misunderstand you. They don't want to have a discussion. They don't want to have a dialogue. They don't want to exchange ideas. And it's pretty apparent
You're
that this
so
Nick
right.
guy doesn't want
Bye,
to
Nick.
exchange ideas. Bye,
Now
cunt.
he can be mad. Guess
I
we
mean,
silenced you, didn't we?
he really came in here really angry, and I don't understand that. I mean, throwing all these issues at us that we didn't bring up, calling us ignorant, hateful, religious zealots, all these things that, like, where did that come from? Like, where did that come
Yes.
from? It's weird, but
Projection. It's all projection.
it's
It's
giving
crazy.
projection. Maybe someone, like, maybe he has some religious trauma. Maybe he has religious trauma.
Perhaps.
I don't know.
Life,
And that
PHN.
happens because there's a lot of religious shit that goes on that's terrible and demonic, right? I know. Um,
But don't put that shit on us because we didn't even bring up
right.
religion. We
Right. Don't
specifically stayed away from religion so nobody could make dumbass
specifically.
arguments.
Specifically.
Like,
Um,
what?
Thank you, Cypher, for the super chat. Nick doesn't have speech because he's a bug person. I mean, the insults were a bit much. The spam, it was giving spam. Like, he was not interested in having
Hmm.
an
Any dialogue.
ideological exchange at all. And that's okay.
Hmm.
If you're not here for that, then you don't belong here. That's okay. Go somewhere where you belong. But again,
That's right.
I'm going to be thinking about this stream for a long time, and I'm going to be talking to Leah again about this because this is not. I'm not going to just put this to bed. I want to still think about this and my position on being pro-choice. For all my life, I've been pro-choice, but I still feel icky about being pro-choice. I feel icky. Like when I voted, I was one of those people voting in Ohio to enshrine abortion rights in our state's constitution. And we did it overwhelmingly. Even though we're a Republican state, we overwhelmingly voted for it. So, I want to think about it,
Yeah.
and this has been a very enlightening discussion. So I really want to thank Leah so much for allowing the space for me to ask her questions and to hopefully broaden my horizons and my knowledge about the topic with someone that I disagree with on a few key points. Um, I feel very
Thank you for
enlightened.
having me.
My third eye's
Mhm.
opening up. Leah, you want to tell the girls about yourself, where they can find you, and all that jazz?
I'm Leah. You can find me on here at Leah Bobia. And I really haven't been doing many lives lately, but I'm trying to work on that. I talk a lot about politics, things like abortion. I actually have whole presentations on abortion on my channel that include lots of facts and statistics, a disturbing photo, only one, and it's also censored because I knew it was going on YouTube. I've been sober almost 8 years. I don't do drugs or really drink, and I talk a lot about sobriety too, staying clean and being mentally healthy. And also have two kids. Talk some about parenting. Do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You know.
I'm gonna put
Thank
your
you
link to
guys.
your channel in the description box. Good idea. And I'm gonna put it in the video from last time that you were here. Um
Thank you, Green Tea. I didn't just call him hateful. I gave him the information. I went back into my phone to get the source and gave him the information. I called him hateful when he started calling names, and I don't think calling someone who's using vile language hateful is really apples to apples. I
no,
think it's
it's
like
not.
apples to cuties, you know? Thank you guys.
Hopefully you guys
Thank
enjoyed
you,
this
Kelly.
stream. Let me know if you guys enjoyed it. I feel like it's been pretty fun. Um I've enjoyed the discussion. I feel good about tonight's live. I feel really good about it.
Yes, I had a wonderful time. I think we had. I'm sorry if we seem to cipher. I'm sorry if we seem to ignore y'all. We didn't mean to, and we love you so much. Um, apples to cuties. Yeah, you know.
And listen, to be honest with you guys, I feel like I feel a lot better about that. Usually, if you hear on a regular basis, I try to read every single chat. But I also, when I have someone as a guest on my channel, I want to give them the respect as a fellow creator to give them my full attention. And so, again, I repeat that if you are really interested in interrupting our dialogue and you want to get a comment in there, super chats start at 99 cents, right? So we read super chats immediately. If I ever have a guest on and you really want to get some shit off your chest, you want to interject, then that's going to be the way to handle that moving forward. I listen, I'm going to prioritize my guests because I really want to value their time and I respect their time of doing me the favor of giving me exposure with their audience and just giving me their expertise and their time. And so I'm not going to be bothered reading chats and trying to keep up like I usually do. Um, we don't have special guests on every week. I mean, every live stream. So this is like a, at this point, a week every other week type of deal right now. So you guys can deal with that for a little bit. I did put Leah's link to her channel in the description box of today's live stream. So
Thanks so much.
please go check her channel out. Go give her a subscription. Go show some support. Go comment on one of her videos and tell her that Cho sent you. I would love for you guys to support her channel. Um,
I
and yeah,
agree.
um,
Lots of people saying we need more dialogue. Dialogue's how we
yeah,
grow, basically.
that's it.
Yeah, we
That's
agree.
it. And who knows, 5 years from now, I might still be pro choice, right? I might still be at the same place that I am right now. But I do think you have to always do some self reflection on your positions and think, is this really the position you want to die on? Is it the hill you want to die on? Right. And so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm really saying to myself, Cho, you're a pro-choice person, but you have this person who means a lot in your life named Leah, who has a different take. and you should really consider her take and how that makes you feel. So I'm doing the work. I don't know about you bitches and you cunts out there in the chat. I'm doing the fucking work. Okay, so okay.
Doing
Um,
it.
so anyway, guys, we're gonna get going. Go follow Leah, and I'll be live again tomorrow night. Wait, what's
Yeah,
today?
it's Monday.
Sunday? Oh no, I won't be live. I'll see you guys Wednesday. Sorry. I'll see you guys Wednesday. With another live stream at 11 o'clock p.m. I think Wednesday we're gonna talk about why everybody should talk like a white person.
Oh gosh. They
We
were
should
talking
all.
about Gaza.
We're gonna talk about that and how people have accused me of wanting to sound white in my life. We're gonna get into all that conversation, what that means, what does it mean to sound like a white person. We're gonna get into it on Wednesday night. Um, so anyway, we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks, Leah. Have a good
Thank
night.
you
You
for having me.
love you.
That